I remember the very first volcano we made when I was a kid. We'd actually had some remodeling done on our home because we'd had a small house fire. And there was a guy who was hanging out. I believe his name was Randy. It's been many, many years ago. But we talked about a school project that I was working on, and I had the idea to do what many kids do with the vinegar and the baking soda. And I wasn't pulling it off very well and couldn't make it look right. And Randy felt like, I feel like I can contribute to that. So he actually helped me and taught me how to use putty and a little cement and chicken wire. And we made, with the steel cup made out of plumbing parts and the wire basket made out of chicken wire and molding mesh, and then the outer layer made out of concrete and mortar like you put between bricks, we made a volcano, and we painted it dirt brown, and then we put red marks like lava down the sides, and then we put vinegar with red food coloring and baking soda in the little cup. And I remember the first time we tried that. It was a challenge for me to believe that these two household products, when mixed together, would do something other than just make mud or paste. I really thought what we were going to get would be the consistency of flour and water, like you make paper mache out of. That's what I expected. I didn't believe that just putting those two substances together would cause the volcano to erupt. I was really happy with the red paint down the side. I was pretty excited that it looked pretty real in that way. It weighed a ton. I remember taking it to the science fair, and it was heavy. Trying to put it in the back of the van to get it there was pretty daunting. But it looked really cool when we actually put the stuff in, and the mixtures of two things that to me at that age didn't make any sense going together. I believe I was about 10 or 12. And we mixed those things together, and it began to foam out the top. I really expected it to shoot up 5 or 6 inches after I saw it get started, but it was really cool the way it came out with the red food coloring in it. It worked really, really well. It was pretty awesome. But there was a season that we talked about it, and I just didn't believe it was going to actually happen. And I can tell you something odd happens when you don't believe. You may have experienced this in your own life. The last few days we've talked about determination, that dogged determination that says don't quit no matter what the naysayers say. You've got to hold on to your dream. You've got to be willing to do the hard part, stay up late, get up early, do the extra hours. You've got to be willing to do all of that stuff if you want to see your dream come true. If you're not that dedicated to your dream, if you don't really have a dream, if you don't really have a vision for who you are and what you were made to do and what you're intended to accomplish on this earth, then I guess, do what everybody else does. Go to school, get a regular job, work by the hour, work, on salary, whatever it is. Fill somebody else's pockets, line somebody else's dreams. There's nothing wrong with it, I guess, if you don't have a dream. But if you have a dream, you have to add to that dream hard work. You have to add to that dream diligence and persistence. You have to add to that dream the tenacity that says, no matter what comes against me, I'm going after it. The speed bumps are not going to chase you down. That's just a fact. Once you learn to roar, to be relevant, to have ownership, to speak with authority, and to be responsible, there's nothing stopping you in your dream except this one thing: belief. Because if I never believed, and I finally did come to believe that mixing those two chemicals together would cause an overflow out of the top of that volcano that would look like lava rushing down the side. Had I never come to believe that, it never would have happened. Not because my belief changes whether it happens or not, but because my belief changes whether I do what's needed to make it happen. If I didn't believe that mixing those two chemicals together would cause that reaction, I would never mix them together. If I didn't believe that it was going to accomplish the end goal, I wouldn't take the steps necessary to make it happen. Where are you in your life cycle of a vision, of the life cycle of your dream? Are you being tenacious? Are you being persistent? Are you charging forward no matter what the naysayers have to say? Have you gotten to the place where you say, I refuse to give up, I will not quit, I am not going to stop doing this until it happens? But are you still wrestling inside with whether or not you believe that it can happen? Or that it should happen? Or that you have the right for it to happen? See, many of us deal with, and I have, and I've talked about it on the show before, the self-loathing and the self-hatred of the things that I've done in my life that I look back on and I say, it's a wonder you're still alive. It's a wonder somebody hasn't, beaten you to death with a pumpkin. You really don't deserve better. You don't deserve what you have right now. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not grateful. Extremely grateful, and in some sense of shock at what I have achieved and accomplished and been able to receive in my life so far. And yet there's still this ounce or two of self-hatred that sits there in the back saying the next big accomplishment could be the one that changes everything. The one that changes your bank account, it changes your geography, it changes your relationships. This next big breakthrough could be the one you've been striving for all of your life. And yet something inside of me sabotages that big breakthrough. I don't believe I deserve it. I don't believe I'm worthy of it. I don't believe that if I get it, somebody else won't take it away because I wasn't supposed to have it. Has that ever happened to you? Do you struggle with looking forward to the beautiful things of the future and all that could be, all that can be, all that should be, all that you've worked for, all that you've persisted for, all that you've refused to give up for? And although you've done all the things on the surface to make it happen, you're not thoroughly convinced you deserve it. You're not completely convinced it could happen for you. I mean, you might even be able to believe that it could happen for Sally Joe or Jimmy John, but can't really happen for me. I mean, sure, they've done the same hard work that I've done, and they have the same education that I have, and they have the same training that I have, and the same background that I have, and they've invested just as much money as I have. The difference is they deserve it and I don't. You ever wrestle with that? Or is it just me? I truly believe. How do you fill in the blank after that? I truly believe is the one lever that can change everything. I truly believe that I deserve it, that I'm worth it, that I've done the hard work, that everyone is conspiring on my part to see success come my way. I truly believe that God loves me and He's okay with it. How many of you have struggled with the balance of, I can't both be godly and successful? Well, see, there are a lot of people out there who have a deep faith in God Almighty and a close relationship with Jesus Christ. But they're in want of very few things on this physical earth. There are a lot of people who say, well, once you get rich, you're miserable. That's not exactly the case. There are people who are miserable, whether they're broke or they're wealthy. There are people who are miserable who have been both broke and wealthy. And there are people who are filled with joy and have learned to live a life of happiness, whether they have $1 million in the bank or nothing in the bank. See, wealth doesn't have anything to do with it. Wealth also shouldn't, although for some people it does, impact their faith. Some people have enough wealth that they don't have to depend on God to do the things that God does in their life. They feel like I could bail myself out. I can pay my own medical bills. I can see the finest doctors. I can always pay my mortgage on time. I don't have any of those struggles. The sad thing is, many of them are also convinced that that's because of their wealth, because of their hard work, because of what they've done to get here, and they give no credit where credit is due, where God has made those things possible. See, without faith, it's not even possible to please God. Those are his words, not mine. Hebrews 11:6. Of course, before you get to 6, you want to read the first 5 as well, 11:1 through 6. So that when you get to 6, you go, oh, so that's what faith looks like. The substance of things hoped for and yet not yet seen. It's scary having faith. Believing that you're worth it. Believing that you deserve it. Believing that success can be yours. That the opportunity to live life without the struggles and the strife. That abundant life really can be yours this side of heaven. It's hard to believe. It's really hard to believe. And especially when you allow what we call the self-fulfilling prophecies to occur. Yes, I said allow. You might even substitute allow with cause or make. What tends to happen for those of us who've always struggled with our belief in ourselves, with our own identity, with our own self-worth, with our own deservedness, is that we do sabotage. If I didn't believe that the vinegar and the baking soda together would make a lava volcanic overflow appear, I would never mix them together. I would find some way, some excuse, some reason. I might even try adding something else to the mixture to make it work better. I might try substituting one thing for another in the formula. I might try getting everyone else to create the mixture so I can see it demonstrated before I mix it myself. There's a bit of a metaphor going on there. I hope you're catching on to that. I hope you can see in your own life those times where success was just days away. Where the one thing that would flip the switch, move the needle, change the direction of your life. And yet you were in the background looking at that horizon. Looking at that horizon and thinking to yourself, I don't really deserve it. I don't really belong there. I'll find some way to mess it up if I do get there. If I do get that right relationship, that right job, that right career, that right education goal accomplished, if I do pull it off, I'll screw it up anyway. And it's a whole lot easier to unplug it now, to disassemble it now, to refuse to make the chemical combinations now. It's a whole lot easier to put that off on somebody else or hand someone else the potential for that success because I know if I get it, I'm just going to screw it up in the future anyway. You follow me? I think there are a lot of us. And sadly, a lot of it's subconscious. We don't even think about the idea that we're undermining our own success, that we're blaming ourselves or others for not having reached the goals and achievements that we want in life. But if we look back, we have to be honest and say, opportunity was there. It was knocking. It was waiting. I can tell you it's been just a little over 5 years that I had an opportunity knock right in my face in a very brief conversation with a woman who does the hiring of public and motivational speakers for her company. And she spends big bucks. I shared with her a brief idea I had about a speech that I was delivering at the time, and I had delivered it probably a dozen times for free, and different size audiences. And here I am with this woman who spends $15,000 to $25,000 to hire speakers. And in a matter of just a minute or two, she's convinced she needs to hear this message that I've been working on and that I'm a good guy to deliver it. And then she asks me, what do you charge? And when are you available? It doesn't get much stronger of a buying signal than that. If you've ever been in sales or you've ever closed a transaction, you know when they ask for price and time, your deal's pretty close to done. If you get the right price when you spit it out there, or you can negotiate to it, that's a done deal. I was that close. I didn't even give her a business card, and I didn't ask for hers. I didn't close the deal. I walked away. And I've thought about it 1,000 times since then. And I ask myself, why didn't you close it? And the only answer is, I didn't believe that I was worthy of what I already knew she was paying other people. I was terrified that if I got that opportunity then, I'd mess it up somehow. That if I was able to close that deal, somehow I wouldn't be able to deliver up to muster. I wouldn't be as good as she thinks I am. Done a lot of speaking since then. Spoken in a lot of places, literally all over the world. I have a lot more confidence now if I met her again today to say, hey, I can still deliver that same presentation and I'm willing to take your $15,000 check. I say that sitting here talking with you. I still struggle to believe I'm worth it if I had the opportunity. So of all the things that you can do, all the effort that you can make in your presentations, all the effort you can make in your diligence, your persistence, your patience, all the times that you can turn away the naysayers and hold on to your dream and not let them talk you out of it. The hardest one to face is going to be the one in the mirror. Convincing you that you deserve, that you have a right to, that you can accomplish this dream, this goal, and see it through to its completion and its grandest success. Because no one on earth is wired to do it like you are. No one has the power that you have. No one has the talent that you have. You are uniquely you. Nobody else has it. Nobody else can do it. Nobody else can cut hair like you cut hair. No one else can trim a landscape like you trim a landscape. No one else can paint a mural like you can paint a mural. No one. You're one of a kind. When you take all of the patience and all of the diligence and all of the training and all of the education and mix it together with your natural gifts and your natural talents, oh yes, you will be tested. How else would you know who the best are? You're going to be tested. And it's going to demand more of you in patience than you've ever imagined, and more persistence than you've ever imagined, and more perseverance than you've ever imagined. And it's going to demand that you refuse to quit in the face of your naysayers more times than you think it will. And it will take longer, and it will cost more than you ever planned. That's just a fact. But if you don't believe in you, if you don't believe that you have the right, if you don't believe you deserve to be successful, if you don't believe that you deserve to accomplish this dream, to reach this goal, you will find a way in your subconscious mind to sabotage your own success, to walk away from the deal of the century while it's laying on the table, to settle for less or nothing, rather than reaching for what's right in front of you and pushing it to be even more. I know, because I've been there. I'm not telling you something maybe you've never encountered before. I'm telling you something maybe you've encountered and just didn't put your finger on it. With the new year approaching, I hope you will realize that every gift, every talent, every resource you have will be tested to the limit. You will need determination and perseverance and patience to hold on through this war to see the light of day on the other side. There are plenty of naysayers. There are plenty of failures. There are plenty of people who would call themselves successful that look at you and just don't want the competition. There's also plenty of spiritual warfare because the enemy doesn't want to see you successful either. But the hardest one that you'll have to deal with is the man or woman looking back at you in the mirror, asking the question, if you do succeed, is it really yours? Did you really do this? Do you really deserve it? Is God really on your side? Remember, without faith, it's impossible to please him. One of the things that you've got to believe is that he is God, and he is the faithful rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And he loves you. He believes in you more than you believe in you. You should ask him, like the disciples did, will you help me with my unbelief? Will you give me faith to push through? Will you give me the faith to carry on in the face of everything that I'm facing? I believe because he is a good father that he will. For you and for me. I'm J Loren Norris, and you've been watching Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.